You beat on expectations. What really has been the main part in your business that's accelerating, that's allowing you to exceed where analysts saw this quarter coming in?
Good morning, Dani. Yeah, as you said, we've seen an improved recovery in Q2 from the crisis versus Q1. But it is a performance that is very resilient, but in a very disrupted environment. But it's a performance that, the way I like to say it, very much in line with our strategic priorities. What is growing in Signify today are our strategic businesses. Connected lighting, where we have increased by 3 million points to 86 million our connected light points, but also what we have called our growth platforms. And we had fabulous wins in Q2 when it comes to horticulture lighting, but also UVC in many different types of applications. We're talking about theaters, we're talking about restaurants, we're talking about retail. We've also launched to the market a new micro box that you can take on holidays, which is disinfecting small objects. And as you have seen, we have been able to improve our operating margin by 190 basis points versus the same quarter last year. And if I look at the first semester, it's 230 basis points improvement versus 2020. So the strategy is being executed, but in a very disrupted environment, as you also mentioned.
Right. Well, let's unpack some of that. You mentioned the UV lights, the ones that are perhaps popular in this COVID era to help get rid of some of the bacteria, some of the viruses. Do sales of those tell you anything about the pace of the recovery, at least the normalization? Have those sales remained strong, or have they waned at all as economies start to reopen and we adjust to what hopefully will be a more normal type of environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's been a bit up and down. At the beginning of the crisis, we had a very high level of growth, especially on the components that many also other manufacturers use in their own luminaires. Then it slowed down a little bit while we were developing a completely new portfolio, not only for the consumer with desk lights, but also disinfection boxes, but also for the professional customers, where we have developed a full range of upper air luminaires. By the way, if you see over there on the ceiling in the room where I am in our office in Amsterdam, we have an upper air disinfection luminaires there. So we've developed a full catalog, which is now getting a lot of traction.
Yeah, how has that mix changed between people buying at home and supplying to businesses?
So there's a very big discrepancy. Our consumer business has been performing much better than our professional business. The professional business is very much sensitive to lockdowns, when our consumer business is allowing the consumers to buy from home and to buy through the online channels. In countries like in Q2, in countries like Canada, in countries like India, Indonesia, the ASEAN, where the lockdowns have been very severe, we have seen a big impact on our professional business.
Eric, you mentioned just a bit ago improving margins. I'm wondering what sort of cost pressures you're seeing, and this is something we've really been asking all CEOs, but of course it's more acute with Signify, considering the supply chain is so important to your business. What sort of inflationary pressures are you seeing?
When we talk about inflation, we see two different types of inflation. One which we believe is transitory, and it's linked to the fact that the capacities are not in place at this point in time to supply the demand on many different types of commodities, but especially electronic components, whether they are active or passive. We see also a lack of containers at this point in time, so transportation is an issue and prices have risen, but that's a transitory part. And on that transitory part, I would add a bit of speculation. Sometimes today on the stock market, on the spot market, we can buy components up to 40 times the price that we used to buy them before. But that part of inflation, we see it as transitory. And there's another part of the inflation that we believe is more structural, which is linked to the fact that the world is doing things in a different way, and that our infrastructure will link to a more structural inflation. So we've increased prices as we see cost increasing, and in line more with the structural